Nissan has just refreshed the 2024 Nissan Rogue with some small details in the front and the rear, and I think these details make it look a lot more upscale. It looks really good. I've always been a fan of it since it first came out in 2021 in this version, but I think they really nailed it with these small changes. So what we're going to do in this video is first of all have a look at some of the spec and tech, what's new for the 2024 Nissan Rogue. And then we're going to have a look at this design. I'm going to show you the changes that Nissan made to this very best-selling SUV of Nissan. So first of all, let's have a look at this article from Autoblog. I'm going to link this down in the description. So for 2024, Nissan is applying yet another round of light but noticeable improvements to its Rogue small SUV. They're focused mainly on some fresh styling as well as some significant changes to the infotainment system. We have a new front and rear fascia, and the SL trim and higher get a 12.3-inch infotainment screen now instead of the outgoing 9-inch, which I think was a pretty normal size. 9-inch for the infotainment screen is all right for me, but you still have the 8-inch in the base models, the S and SV trims on the new 2024. So the top trims get a larger screen, and the base trims now go down an inch to 8-inch, comparing it to the outgoing model. Pretty interesting there. You also have Google built in now, and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto remain standard equipment. So all good there. And here you can see a shot of the interior. Very nice looking interior. The powertrain remains the same. You have the turbocharged inline 3-cylinder. Even though it's a 3-cylinder, it does have a turbo on it, so it makes 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. And you can get it with all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. I would definitely, if you're going to have this sort of package on a car, I mean, what's the point of having it in all-wheel front-wheel drive? You want to go with the all-wheel drive for this ride height. The 2024 Nissan Rogue will go on sale early next year. We don't have pricing for this new Rogue, but the current one, we don't expect it to go up much from the current pricing, which starts at $27,000 and goes up to $37,000, which in my mind sounds like a really good deal for all that you get now, specifically with the new facelift. So let's jump into Photoshop here and let me show you what has changed for the very common and very popular Nissan Rogue. So up top we have the version that came out in 2021, and down here we have the brand new 2024. You can see the main changes here happened in the grille. Instead of having this clear V-motion silver grille, we now have a much more elegant grille, I would say, that reminds me a lot of the Nissan Ariya. So we have a connection across the board when it comes to the implementation of the grille in the front end. We still have something that is the trend of the last 5 years or so. So this is not the headlight up here. This is actually just a daytime run light with the LED inside of it. Then you have the big headlights being located right here in the bumper. I do like this integration though, because we do have a nice chamfer to it, and this is something that they changed for 2024 as well. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then you have the grille here, the main grille up top. You have a clear, sort of a clear separation with this body piece right here, sort of being the bumper in this case, even though it's not a proper bumper. You have the fog lights down here and another grille at the bottom. Now, comparing this to what happened in the 2024 model, I think it got a lot more clean. It just looks more simple than it did before. And the reason being is, if we look at this chamfer that we have on the 2021 model that has this chamfer then cutting in up here going into this corner sort of the grille, now instead of doing that, we have a one single chamfer that goes right here. It's more pronounced as well, and then it just goes straight down. It never goes back up and connects to this corner like we have right here. You can see this line going up here and then connecting to the grille. Instead, they just decided to cut that line off and just cut it off pretty abruptly here with this black plastic piece. And instead of having matte black or just flat black plastic, we now have gloss black in the platinum trim specifically down here. And I think that also adds to this more upscale feel of the Nissan Rogue. Overall, the front end, I think it looks really cool, even though we still have, of course, the main features being the same as the 2021 model, with the daytime run light being up here, and then you have the main headlight being here in the bumper, but that's all good. Another change is, it looks like we did have the fog lights down here, but it looks like they removed the fog lights from this area. Maybe now it's sort of integrated in the main headlight. I am not 100% sure. Now, looking at the side view, and this is the proportions, I think the proportions of the Rogue just look solid. It looks like a unit. The volumes feel nice, and you do have a couple of cut lines in this car to make it a little bit more chiseled. For example, this line up here, then you have this nice muscle going over the rear axle, right over it. And you also have sort of rounded wheelhouses. They're a little squared off, as you can see, but that adds to this more SUV feel, I would say, of the Nissan Rogue. I do like that we have a two-tone on the 2021 model year that also continues into the 2024, as you can see right here. Two-tone color, black roof, remove some of the volumes to make it look a little bit more athletic. I also like these taillights because these are typical Nissan taillights with this design that we have in the sort of, reminds me a little bit of a more agile version of the Nissan 370Z taillights, a more chiseled feel, but we still have the body lines intact here, as you can see. There's not a lot of changes in the side view. We have new wheels for the Platinum version, and then also we have this line at the bottom, cutting in to the doors and removing more of this mass. So the only big mass we have here is this. They could have extended it down to this point, but what that would do is make it feel a little heavier than it needs to be. And I think, again, that just adds to this athletic feel of this design. We also have some changes here in the line flow in the rear. We don't have any lines here, for example, but now it comes back with this chamfer. So let's have a closer look at the rear end. Now, I always liked these taillights of the Rogue. They have a very nice feel to them and very stretched out to the side, emphasizing the width, while at the same point they're not too high. So they're extended horizontally, and I think that adds to this width and also plants the car nicely. One detail I was not a huge fan of was what is going on in this area underneath the tail light. We have a lot of messy lines going on here, and it looks like that is still intact in the new one. But what's changed is this area of the rear end. We also have apparently new taillights, but I can't really see what is new here in the taillights from the old to the new. They look pretty much identical to me. And then you also have the new logo here that is almost sort of matte instead of this shiny finish that we have on the 2021. But the big changes happen right here. So you see how this area for where the license plate sits is now being chamfered and housed in a much nicer way, I think, than in the 2021 model year, because here we don't have a connection with this area going down to this line at the bottom. I want to have something to connect these two lines, and that's exactly what we got here in the 2024, so it's all good there. We also have some changes to the diffuser at the very bottom. You can see that it doesn't stick up like this, like it did in the 2021. Instead, it's more elegant now. Again, adding to this more upscale feel of the 2024 design by having just a straight line here, and not too much curviness going on all over this lower section. And if you look at these taillights, they look almost identical to the Toyota Sienna taillights, which is pretty interesting because that is a minivan, but I saw them next to each other the other day, and I was like, those are the exact, almost same taillights on the Toyota minivan that you have on the Nissan Rogue. It was pretty interesting to see that. Last but not least, let's have a look at this interior. I do like the old interior as well, or the current interior, because I think the screen size with the 9 inches here, that's totally fine. 9 inches is pretty much all you need to visualize all the information that you want, and it doesn't look oversized for the rest of the features that you have in the interior. It feels pretty nicely integrated as well because it sits in this base, so you have a carved out portion of the dash that houses the base for the infotainment screen. And again, 9 inches with these digital gauge cluster right here. but it still has a clear housing for it, so it's all good there. Not a huge fan of these Nissan graphics that we have though for the tachometer and the speedometer. I would much rather have them be just normal round designs in the software, but they decided to go a little bit crazy there. But still, we do have some physical buttons, or pretty much all the physical buttons that we need. You can see that here, the dials for the climate control settings and so on. And overall, the finish of the old one just looked nice. It looks almost upscale, but I think they improved it even more with the 2024. Now we have, it looks like we do have a new type of steering wheel with a different finish on the leather. Maybe that's just a trim level that you can pick, but I do like this light brown color that we have right here in combination with this piece, almost like some wood trim. Again, just more upscale. I'm thankful that they did not put these buttons into the infotainment screen. Even though the infotainment screen is now more widescreen, it still has a very nice integration in the dash, because it's 12.3 inches. It's bigger, but they stretched it out so it doesn't stick up too much. It doesn't stick up much more than it did in the 9-inch screen up here. And I think this integration is actually really well done, because we have the same base right here in the dash itself to have sort of a base for the infotainment screen. And then we have the same graphics here, as you can see, for the tachometer and the speedometer with the digital gauge cluster. I'm just thankful for Nissan not just putting a big screen on the dash and keeping the same style that we have in the 2021, which I think looks so much more upscale and elegant in quality than just putting a big screen like we have in a lot of other manufacturers today. We also have some connectivity down here, 2 cup holders, drive modes at the bottom. Very nicely done by Nissan, updating the Nissan Rogue. And I am 100% sure that this is going to continue to sell just as well as it's been doing from 2021 up until today.